What's going on, guys? Welcome to Cruising with Kevin. Like always, make sure you like, subscribe, share me around, help me grow the channel there. I'm on mostly on Instagram and YouTube here. So today we're going to be working on my Camaro again. I've got like just over a week until I have to leave to go to Canada. But what I'm planning on doing is hauling this thing to HotrodGarage Day in Famoso, California, which is 1,600 miles from here. So I've got a bunch of stuff that needs to be done with this thing to get it ready. I barely got it slapped together for the last event, which I haven't driven it since, which was duct tape drags there. So I'll show you what I'm gonna do today here. And then, yeah, hopefully I can get it actually running properly. So let's get at it, guys. Here's what my garage looks like after my son works in here. His stuff, his stuff, his stuff, all of his stuff. But ooh, what do we have here? Yes, yes, yes. So this is unrelated to this video, but I'm going to show you guys because this is going to be coming up in a future video. This is actually the engine out of this junk. So, which is kind of interesting here. So I'm going to show you guys this a bit later, but my son actually put this whole engine together, which is pretty cool. I just haven't been home to help him, but he's taking mechanics class here and all that stuff. So he figured it out. So what you got here, it's actually ironic. It's out of a 1976 square body truck there. So he has a one owner, so he's the second owner, but yeah, 1976 Chevy square body. This was out of a four-wheel drive. I built this thing back in around 2000-ish, 2001 maybe. Yeah, it's a 400 small block. It's got Comp 286H cam in it right now. It has Edelbrock Performer RPM intake. Some of the stuff we got him for Christmas there. He's just been kind of stockpiling it. Holley, I don't know if he's going to use that, but I think it's a Holley 750 double pumper carb on it right now. And you could see here, these young guys haven't learned some of the stuff yet. Like he put a raw water pump on there, which is going to end up being probably rusting just because he didn't paint it ahead of time. So might have to tell him that. He might have to pull it back off and then put it back on again. So yeah, like young guys like the chrome. It's got Edelbrock E Street heads. Got a really good deal on. This is a pretty budget motor actually there, so pretty cool. Okay, now that I'm done drilling over my son's engine there, imagine being 18 and having that sweet engine to throw into your vehicle. It was pretty cool. So he works hard for it. I didn't pay for any of it, so got to respect him for that. I did help find cheap parts though, so you know, half price. So I'm going to show you what we're doing here today. We got a whole bunch of little things there. I've got to install, I actually found a different carburetor for this thing. I need to put some new exhaust gaskets in it. There's a bunch of just little things I kind of want to get wrapped up here. So as I'm looking at it, there's some other things there that I'm seeing right now. So that's kind of the plan here. So I'll show you what I bought the other day. This is a really like incredibly good deal. Again, it was just a fluke, but I'll show you that now. Okay, so guys, I was at Summit Racing the other day. Actually made my wife drive me so I didn't have to drive my truck and trailer. We were there to get my passport updated. So this is a Holley XP. It's a 750. It's a 4150 body, but it's all like aluminized, I believe it is. I don't even know. Honestly, if I'm being truthful, I don't know every little detail about this. I've been wanting to buy one of these forever, but they're like $1,300 US out the door. So very, very expensive. So I just actually went to look for some exhaust pipe the other day for my car so I could put a little bit of length on it so my O2 sensor, my O2 sensor would work for my wideband. And I found this thing. So let's talk about what this thing is right now. Okay, if you guys have ever watched Engine Masters, you see this was a very common one that they put on a lot of engines. Like I said, super expensive carb. I'm not gonna get into super details about it, but it has like a whole bunch of different things, and I'll show you apples to apples compared to the one beside it, just so you guys can have a quick look at this, so you kind of understand how much of a difference there is. Okay, so I'll show you kind of what I know about this. The differences, just you can see obviously. So this one has a choke on it. This one does not, because this would be like considered like a race ready carb. So you can see the choke flap here. If you look here, the air bleeds, they're pressed in. On this one, they're actually screwed in, which is super cool. This thing, people don't really realize this, I don't think. So if you look at these holes here, if you look straight down there, you guys can see there's a flat screwdriver thing. And so what basically that does is, instead of like how guys used to basically drill holes in the butterflies back in the day to get a better idle, that's what that does. Obviously this one doesn't have that. Doesn't have the side bowls with the, you can see a lot of the better carbs have that, where you can see the fuel level. There's also some other things here. You can, if you look at the back of it, it's got drains on the fuel bowl, which is really sweet. So yeah, I paid $250 for this thing, but it was disassembled, and I ended up taking it to a local carb guy here. Actually, the guys in Salsa, Oklahoma, his Jerry's Powerhouse Carburetors, super knowledgeable guy. I just wanted him to make sure I wasn't overlooking anything. So he basically just kind of pulled it apart, went through everything quickly while I was actually standing there, like very quickly. But basically, it was like an unused carb. Maybe somebody put it on their engine and just did something, because all the idles or whatever, I guess, what was it, the four corner idle, I think is what they call those, were messed around with. So he thought maybe that they just couldn't get it to run. Probably something else wrong with their engine. They tried playing with it and then messed up the settings, and that was what that was. So, but yeah, you can just see this is just, it's all like a, I think it's like a billet aluminum or whatever. These are just like pot metal. So you can just see a way nicer carb. You could probably buy one of these for, I don't know, probably $500 for sort of like a 750 kind of run of the mill. 750, I'd say, is probably average. Like I said, these are about 1,300 out the door, so that kind of gives you an idea. So the reason I had wanted to do this was because mine kind of needed a rebuild. So I've got that 850 on here. It needs a rebuild, I think. So I just thought, well, that was a really good deal. I'm going to try it. Okay, I'm going to start taking this carburetor off here. Not really looking forward to this, if I'm being totally honest, but I'm going to do it anyway. So take this off. I think this air cleaner needs to be cleaned. I have a K&N kit here somewhere to clean it. To be honest, I don't really like K&Ns, but it's what I got. So I'm sure it flows a little bit better than just a regular one. Throw this back on here. Probably should buy a new carb stud maybe. I tried to buy a hood for this thing yesterday, and it was right where in a town I was up in Illinois, actually. The guy didn't respond to me for a couple hours, so I didn't get it. I was hoping I could have, because hide all this mess here, and I don't really want to just leave the car with the hood off when I'm traveling or whatever. So I'm hoping I can still find something, but we'll try to start pulling this carburetor off. That'll be a whole ordeal in itself probably, and then we'll go from there. Okay, pulled the fuel line off. There was a lot less fuel than I was, well, there wasn't much fuel, which I'm glad, because I didn't want a flood of gas going everywhere all over my engine here. So that was kind of nice. Pretty much never happens. When you're doing this kind of stuff, the smart thing to do would be to like have a magnetic tray or something, which I do, but they're all used up. So I'm just going to set it right here so I could forget where it is later, and then spend half an hour looking for it. Yeah, so I kind of want to take this one in and get it rebuilt. I would like to see like an apples to apples comparison, like pull one off, put the other one on. This is a pretty decent carb here. I'll show you this one side by side to the other ones as well, but said it's an 850 double pumper. I've never had it apart, but I believe it's got like 76 jets in it too, which is what that one's got for main jets. That one's got a bunch of cool little features too. It's got jet extensions, which keeps it from basically running lean when the fuel sloshes to the back of the carb or whatever, which is cool. So yeah, take the throttle linkage off here. See if we can figure that out. If you lose these clips, then you got to buy the whole stud. Used to be like they were super hard to find too, so try not to lose the clips for that because they're not that easy to find. Well, I shouldn't say they're not that easy. They're a lot easier than they used to be. All right, let's get this carburetor off of here, and then I'll show you guys the differences. And I'm hoping all the linkages and fuel lines and all that stuff just go onto the new one real super easy so that I don't have to mess around with that either. But we can see I'm already spilling gas there, so let's get this onto the bench. Okay, so this is the 850, or supposedly an 850, that came off of this engine. Like I said, this one had been sitting since like 2018, so sure doesn't look any bigger. Usually it would be physically a little bit bigger in the barrel here. I thought, I could be wrong, but so I know when I bought it used, and that was years ago, I was told it was an 850, but maybe it's not. That'd be funny if this one just made a big difference because of it being pretty much the same but different. So what I did was I put my fuel pressure gauge up here, the regulators in the back of the car, whatever. Probably not the preferred place, but it's saved me a bunch of return line when I eventually, it saved me a bunch of return line for when I plumbed it back into the tank, but also it's going to be a pain if I ever put boost to it, but whatever. So yeah, you can see this one also has like just press-in air bleeds there. So, which I don't know if there's necessarily anything wrong with that. It's just not as high end, I guess. So I suppose these could be changed or pulled out and cleaned really easy or whatever. Sure looks like the same carb to me. You can see there's some stampings on the actual blocks there, the metering blocks, but yeah, like I said, I've never had this apart. So I don't really care for this. I wish this was a solid piece, but it's what I've got. I'm hoping I can just basically put it onto there, hoping it threads in the same and all that stuff. So I'm going to try that now. You can see I spilled a little bit of gas. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's like almost like white. It looks like milk. Super weird. I might dump a little bit into a container because that's not right. Okay, ran into our first snag here. I pulled this out and I went to put this in, and yeah, it's way smaller. So this is kind of like what came out of the old carb. This is what's going into the new carb. You can see there, which is fine. That was going to change it, but this size is different than that size. So I'm not sure how I'm going to resolve that right now. Okay, so in the meantime, while I'm waiting for an answer back on that, I messaged the carb guy to see if he had any ideas there. Jerry's Powerhouse Carburetors in Salsa there, so just texted him. While I'm waiting for that though, if he responds today at all. So just FYI, I could switch the bowls over, but the bowls on the other ones kind of suck compared to this, so I don't really want to do that unless I absolutely have to. So I'm going to I'm glad, by the way, that I used hydraulic lines for transmission lines here, because they've touched the headers a bunch of times already. So if that would have been rubber or something, it would have already burned through multiple times. So I'm going to take the spark plugs off here. Another thing I get a lot of questions on, that MSD 6014. I'm almost tempted to do a video about it because there's so many people asking me about it. So you might see that one day. I don't know if I'm going to do that this week here. Probably won't have time. But I mean, honestly, if I'm being truthful, I procrastinated doing the LS swap forever because I was kind of worried about the electronic side of things there, and that made it like super duper easy. So if you guys are thinking about doing an LS swap and you want to do it simply, I know a lot of people are like, carb. Well, carbs work fine. And we're gonna see when I put this XP carb on there, it's gonna work real fine. So let's see what I need to take this header loose here, and then I'll just be able to slip, I think, a gasket from the top. I think I'm gonna put some, they actually make a locking nut. So if you guys are doing this, do that first. This is what I would do a second time around. So they make a bolt that's basically a bolt, and it goes in, and then there's basically an Allen key head in the top. And when you tighten it up, it spreads that bolt open to keep that header from coming loose. Another thing that a lot of people told me, which probably makes a lot of sense, I used the gaskets that came with this cheap header kit, because this was like a super cheap header from eBay, like super cheap, like 130 bucks or something like that. They're actually pretty decent, but I used the gaskets that came with it, and they say that it'll cause it to back out too, which is probably the issue, because I've never had issues backing out in the past on different exhausts. So I'm going to start loosening this off, and then see if I can get the new, new gasket in there, guys. All right, so if you guys have ever taken a set of headers off, if you have these ratchet wrenches, you can get them super cheap. This is just a set of Jagger ones. I don't even know where they came from. I think my kids got them for me for Christmas or something, but they're probably pretty affordable. But yeah, if you got a set of ratchet wrenches, those are pretty nice to take it off. I did retighten the header already, because I didn't realize what was fully happening at the time. I did. I shouldn't say I didn't, but I didn't realize that it had fully blown out until I looked closer at it. So, which is fine. So we'll just loosen it off here. Okay, so it didn't take long. I got that out of there. So I'll show you here. So this is the gasket that came out, and actually, you can see it actually I caught it, because I heard it right away. So it actually didn't fully burn. Whoa, that's the lie. I was just kidding. I thought it didn't fully burn the gasket out, because usually when it burns the gasket out, there'll be nothing left of it. But you could see, if you look super close, see, I could see down the middle, and then you kind of look at the rest of it. So it's like basically like, looks like some sort of composite material squished into some other material in the middle there. So this is, like I said, probably just a Chinese gasket that came with it. So what I have here is a Felpro gasket. It's just a generic factory style Felpro gasket. So I'm going to throw this on, and that hopefully will resolve my problem. I think, though, I'm pretty sure I'm going to put just a little bit of the blue Loctite on it, because I just don't want to keep having this issue. And they were coming loose like every 10 minutes. So that's no good. So I'm hoping I thought maybe it was this side, because it's still just barely touching the frame there, but I realized the other side is not touching anything, and it was backing off too. So I think I'm just going to change them both to be safe. Then hopefully I don't have this problem anymore. Okay, one side down. So this is what I used. It's MS92467, I guess, is the gasket number there, Felpro. And if you look closely at it, it'll say, like right on it, it's hard to see here, but it'll say manifold side. Another thing that I was kind of worried about here, I was wondering if this thing had a single plane intake on it, and I didn't notice. So you can see here it doesn't. And if you're not familiar with that, when it's a single plane, it won't have this divider in the middle. On these new intakes, you can't really tell from the outside. So typically on like old small block Chevy, it'd be quite a bit taller or whatever, so you could kind of tell. But yeah, so that's good, because I didn't really want a single plane, because then it doesn't start making power till a lot higher. So also had this gasket on here that's like super thick, because it's what I had laying around. You can see it's like really thick, so I'm just gonna put a regular thin gasket on there. But I just got a call back from Jerry's Powerhouse Carburetors there, and he has ones that go to -8 but not -6, and my lines are -6, I believe. So I don't know how you even measure that. I might have to do a bit of Googling, but I'm pretty sure the lines that I have are -6. All right, what I'm doing here is something I didn't want to have to do, which sucks, but I don't even know the right one to get here. So to get this thing running in a sensible amount of time, I'm going to take the bowls off of this one and put it onto that one for now. It's going to look terrible. It's going to be one of those things, even though the car isn't that nice, it's going to annoy me, but I'm going to have to figure out what fuel rail is, because it looks like what goes into the actual carb bowls on that one is like -8, and then it comes out at -6, which is fine, but these are something totally different. It's like both size Like if you look at these size here, they're about size 10 going into the old carb, which is I think a normal whatever. So for some reason this 750 is different, so I'm gonna have to do a little research there. Wish I had David Freiberger right now because he knows these things inside and out, and he'd probably tell me exactly what I'm looking for. Not sure. Fuel sure doesn't look clear for premium fuel, but I know it was clear going in, and I know the lines are clean, so I probably should have a filter. I don't because I didn't have one. I should ask this carb guy if he's got one handy because that would probably be a lot smarter than what I'm doing here. Let's see if I can get myself covered in gas here. Oh, that's good. So there you guys go. That's the inside of it. So this has got like a brass float bowl, or maybe it's not even brass, probably it's aluminum. The new one's got plastic. So assuming everything else is pretty well the same here. Man, this old carb is dirty. I'll show you guys this. So if you guys can see right here, it's just filthy in there. So I'm going to change that, but not have to worry about that right now. Okay, so I was about to throw this bowl back on, and you look how much different they are. I mean, real goodness, kind of old and dirty. Anyways, I couldn't live with myself leaving it dirty, so I'm just going to grab a little bit of carb cleaner here. I'm going to give it a quick spray down just to try to make it look a little bit better. So this is your accelerator pump, I think. So I don't know, whatever. Accelerator pump. So if you squeeze that, there's no fuel left in it, but when you squeeze it, that's your pump shot. So that's your squirters. So that kind of gives you an idea if it feels good or not, and you can change that diaphragm. They don't typically go bad from what I understand, but I'm not claiming to be a carb guy. I'm just kind of learning this as I go, just like you guys can too, so don't worry about it if you mess something up. It's easily fixable. So I think the main thing with these is to make sure they're clean. I did pull a jet out of that old carb there, and it was only a 72 in there, so I don't know. Guess we'll see what it runs like. If you guys are pulling these things apart, just keep checking my mic here. We're just trying some different mics or whatever. I'm probably going to order. There's a better set that we're thinking we got, but we're just trying this one, messing around. Anyways, so, see, the camera adds 10 pounds. When you're taking these apart, there's a little rubber grommet, like it's basically a seal here, that goes against the bolt. So just make sure that when those come off, if they're not on the bolt, that make sure they are on there. You can reuse them a bunch of times. Same with the gaskets. If you're pulling them apart and you got to put them back together, the gaskets will last a long time. So just something to think about there. You don't have to change the gaskets every time. You don't have to change the seals every time. So on to the next one here. Take this one off. Put the other bowl on. I'm going to clean that one as well. Got to drain the fuel out of it. And then, yeah, I guess I can put it back on the car here. Wasn't what I wanted to do, but it doesn't actually look terrible. It almost makes it look like a brawler carb, which is kind of funny, but low buck look, I guess. Finally met my neighbor the other day, about a week ago, I guess. He's got a bunch of cool cars. His name's Mike there. He's got a super cool stash of cars there. He cruises around quite often, actually, probably more than most people. I'll show you guys here. If you guys look, these come with jet extensions, and the way I understand this is that when you gas it, these are at the back, and of course the fuel sloshes to the back of the bowl, so then it wants to starve your engine of fuel. So these start picking up the fuel from the back of the bowl. The way these particular ones work is that the jet's actually inside here. So if you're getting one of these XP carbs and you get it new, you have to put the jet inside there, then screw it on with it on attached to there, if that makes any sense. The jet's inside that actual extension. So I had no idea what those were for before, but I went to the carb guy there, like I said, I mentioned earlier, and I asked him, and he was kind of showing me about that, which makes a lot of sense. But I just haven't really done a bunch with carbs because I really haven't had ways to tune them a bunch. I've messed around a tiny little bit with some Q jets and things like that, but to get them perfectly dialed in, I've just never done that. So now that I have an AFR gauge and things like that, that'll be good to help me along with that. So that's the plan. Remember I was showing you about the accelerator pump? I'll see if I can do it here. This one's still got a bit of fuel in it, I believe. So if you push on the accelerator pump, which is this bar down here, that should be the squirter. So we'll see if I can do this. There you go, see? So that kind of tells you it's working. This fuel isn't very clean in this carb though. I don't know. It's like, I don't know. The tank was brand new. The lines are all new. The only thing that wasn't new was the carburetor. So I don't know. Well, I said it's picked up some sort of badish fuel somewhere or something when I filled it up in Tucson. But do you think their fuel would be better than our fuel? Little mistake there when you're putting these together. No big deal. But I didn't have the accelerator pump underneath that. So I put both the bowls on, then realized I wasn't paying attention and didn't have it underneath there. So just something to think about there. No big deal. It took 2 seconds to switch it around. But yeah, so I'm going to put the fuel line on now, and then we should be able to bolt this thing back on there. Okay, got the carburetor put back together here. Actually looks kind of cool with all these like kind of different, like I said, it almost looks like a brawler carb. So I just threw the gasket on there. I'm going to drop it on, and should be able to just throw the throttle linkage on at the same time there, which I'm surprised I actually remembered that. And I'm backwards. I don't know what I'm doing here. That's funny. What I should probably do is put the carb stud on too, I guess. I'm going to do that right now before I forget about that in case there's an issue and I have to do something on the bench. All right, as predicted, of course, the stud for the throttle cable isn't going to fit. I hated drilling a brand new carb like this, but all right, drilled the hole there. So if I had paid $1,300 for this carb like it would have been for a brand new one that hadn't been returned, I might have been upset, but since I only paid $250, I can live with it. All right, another thing to note here, a regular size carb stud does not fit there to hold the air cleaner down. It's the size up from that, whatever size that is. So no big deal there. Okay, so we're gonna check wide open throttle here. So if you can go wide open there. That's it? So again, this is the problem we had last time. Oh, hang on, let go. You can see there's some sort of a hang up here. Not sure what the hang up is. Okay, so I'm not getting wide open throttle again, and I think, unless I've done something wrong here, what's happening is it looks like that is hitting the intake. In a couple ways I could do that. I could put the old gasket back on, which was quite a bit thicker, or else I guess I just grind the bottom half of that linkage off. That's typically for a throttle return spring, but this one, which I apparently hadn't put on yet anyways. There's always some little things when you're switching things over. Something that you'd think would take 10 minutes is an ordeal all the time. Pay a crazy amount for this. I think it was like $20 or something like that. So, and you can get different sizes too. So depending on whatever size you like there, sometimes I think just ordering this kind of stuff from like Amazon or whatever is a better way to do it cost wise or whatever. So I checked, and it was in fact hitting the bottom of this. Maybe if you had a single plane intake, that wouldn't be a problem. I don't want to cut them both off because in case I ever want to use that spring return for something, I don't really want to cut one off, but I don't really have much of a choice. There was a tiny little bit of gas left in the squirter here. I don't think that'll be a problem. I probably should put goggles on before I break a disc and get it in my eye. All right. There absolutely was no precise measuring there. Gonna try it again. We'll see how that turns out. Okay, go wide open throttle again. Aha, success. So you can see there where I ground that off on the side there, there's actually some clearance now. So underhood of this thing's still a mess of wires here, but yeah, actually this carb looks decent on here now. I have to figure out the stud for the air cleaner. I might just have to use a bolt maybe or something, I guess. That'd probably work too. I'm gonna check the fuel pressure as well. It should be the same because it's got the same bowls in it. So if you can just turn the key on, I'll watch the fuel pressure. If I yell at you to shut it off. Yes. Okay. Am I turning on or just... Don't start it. Just turn it forward till you'll hear the fuel pump running. Okay, so I got the idle set to about 800 here. It's still cold a little bit. I'm just going to rip it up and down the road once and see if it feels any different. Okay, I made it like 2 blocks up the road here, and then I realized the brakes were hideous, and then I realized I didn't hook the brake vacuum booster line back up there, and then I realized another problem with this carb is it doesn't have one. Thankfully, the intake on this car has one, so I'll probably have to get a barbed fitting. I hooked it up, just there's a blank line on the valve cover there, so I just hooked it up to that, just so it's just not sitting there. I don't want it to melt on something, but I don't think there'd be any vacuum there. I guess no, not really. So anyways, but I'll probably have to get some sort of barbed fitting for that, and then yeah, should be able to just hook that up, and then it should be good. But you notice when I hit the sprayer there, like as soon as I got on the throttle, all 4 sprayers are like full, and the other one was like barely even, like, you looked at the other video, it was like barely a trickle, so I think it's going to be healthy. So probably go back home here, have to go get a barbed fitting to fit that, and then get that on there and figure it out. It's like something as simple as changing a carb takes hours and hours just because it's not the same and everything's a little bit different, and this carb, nothing fits. And yeah, I was procrastinating putting those bowls on it because I didn't really want to do that, but whatever. Okay, so back of the intake, so this dual plane Holley intake here, there's that fitting there. I'm going to pull that out and go get a barbed fitting to fit this. I just threw that on there so it wasn't just dangling because it was laying almost in the exhaust. So hook it up to there, and yeah, should be good. All right, after taking it for a drive, we realized that I was trying to avoid changing this one, procrastinating it, but as it would turn out, it was leaking anyway. So I'm gonna just change this one, and then that'll be done. Put the carb on it. Seems to run really good. So just got on it again. It was feeling like it was spinning, so we went back and looked, and it sure did. So yeah, figure things out here, but yeah, it definitely seems healthy. Okay guys, I'll show you something here. So if you look at this, right back here is the power valve. So anywho, so this is they put an 87 sized so they put an 87 size jet in that. Okay, so the reason that they put an 87 in here is because they took the power valve out, and I'll show you what I mean there. Again, if you look here, you can see I get the names of these mixed up. I'm drawing a blank here, but this is the power valve. So and I don't know exactly why, for whatever reason. So the front had 72s in it, which is way smaller than I thought, but the rear's had 87s, which is a kind of a weird, but they go up 10 sizes, typically speaking, if you were to have like a 72 in the front and you would normally have a 72 in the back with the power valve. So the reason that they do that is because the fuel sloshes to the back of the bowl if you don't have jet extensions on there, and so that's what would have been the reason for that. So anyway, so I just wanted to show you guys that. Like I said, I'm no expert at this. So we're working on the other side here now. Put some blue thread lock on it here, and these ones you can hang from the top, so we're just gonna set the headers in, then drop them in. Super easy. Like I said before, these are just regular Velcro gaskets or whatever, so should be good. I tightened them up a little bit tighter than last time, so. Okay, where we're at here is we're trying to get a hose clamp in there to get this shifter cable fixed, because so we cut one of the tangs off so we could actually fit it through the hole, because it wasn't even remotely fitting before. I think we're just gonna end up putting a zip tie on there, probably calling it good. All right, guys, didn't get as much accomplished as I was hoping for, but that's going to do it for this video. At least got everything kind of running decent. It actually runs really good now, so probably play around with the timing some more. I thought I'd have time to do that today, but just kind of ran out of time. So that's going to do it for this video. Make sure you like, subscribe, share me around on social media, Cruising with Kevin on Instagram and YouTube here. Catch you guys in the next one. Thanks, guys.
All right, Ricky Bobby to the front, because if you're not first, you're last.